Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. If you are in the US, if you're not, maybe it's morning for you, who knows? But, anyways, I'm happy to have Nurse Kim here with me. Super
Hey
excited because
guys,
she is a fellow nurse. Of course, I'm retired, but she is still actively working as a nurse.
I'm active
And
duty.
yeah, she is on active duty. And
Um,
I found you originally, and I don't know how, I think one of your videos just popped up on my YouTube
oh,
feed.
I always
I
wonder how people find.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was either that or you might have been on a live stream or something, but, I like to when I see people on other people's live streams or whatever, I just like to go check them out, and I watched the first video I watched of yours kinda blew me away because you were describing all these symptoms that you have. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, another me."
Oh yeah, I think I remember you making comments.
I made a comment,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh my
Carrie.
gosh, this sounds like mast cell activation syndrome."
Yeah,
Hi, Gary.
and
Carrie,
I
glad
had
to see.
considered that diagnosis in the past. In all my googling.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do try to self-diagnose, right? Even though we
hmm
probably shouldn't, but when it comes to these weird symptoms, um, I don't know if you've ever found a doctor that really has a whole lot of been helpful for you. I
Probably my functional medicine doctor was the
Yeah.
most helpful out of all of the doctors, and then my current primary care doctor. She's a little bit she's a lot better than
Yeah,
the others I've had, but I
it's
mean,
hard.
yeah, it's very difficult. I've been to multiple specialists and they just want to work on that little body system. They don't want to put
Right.
the whole picture together.
Right,
So
exactly, exactly.
that's
So,
always frustrating.
yeah, so why don't you start just kind of giving us a little bit of idea, who are you? Tell us a little bit about, where you're from, and then kind of just start sharing your story of what led you to changing your diet and looking at diet as a possible solution for your health problems.
Okay. Well, so this is the hardest part for me to talk about myself. I know it sounds so silly because I do YouTube and I talk about myself all the time, but when I'm like in a interview like this, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So if I stumble around, just forgive me.
No
um,
worries.
but I do know who I am. I do.
Yes.
So my name is Kim, and I'm a registered nurse. I'm 48 years old. I am from Kentucky. I've lived here most of my life. I was in the Air Force for a brief period. Lived in Texas at that time. I was actually trained to be a police officer and
Wow.
had to get out because I got hurt. Graduated from the police academy. Ended up back home. That was all like literally a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But that was the period of my life when I developed my first symptoms of, kind of well, what ended up to be chronic candida.
Mm.
And not just the feminine kind. I've had various things that have scalp infection. I mean, it's not really an obvious scalp infection. It feels like zits when it comes.
Mhm.
And let's see here. Of course, the rash, that women get under their breasts, and then the female,
Mhm.
I hate talking about it, but I talk about it on the internet all the time. So,
Yeah, and it's a
um,
real thing, and I think a lot of women deal with it,
I mean,
but
as a nurse, like honestly, it doesn't bother me. Like it's a thing. We
Mhm.
deal with it. We see it every day. I see these little women in the hospital that have it so bad, and basically everybody's just ignoring it. And I'm like, hey, doc, can we get a little, you know, fluconazole over here?
Yeah, I was
Can
gonna
we,
say,
you
I
know?
mean, how many times did you go on fluconazole trying to get rid of it?
Well, a lot.
Mhm.
And when I could get them to give that to me, usually they just want you to use the cream. And it's
Right.
like, well, the cream doesn't do it for everything. Um, and I would get these rashes on the side of my face and like down my neck. And I associated it with that because it all happened at the same time.
Mm.
I, I don't have swabs of that. I didn't get
Right.
color done. I have no idea if it really was, but it seemed to go away. I had a chronic cough for, I mean, years,
Oh, wow.
probably at least 4 or 5 years. And it would come and it would go. But I started to notice that it would mostly go after I took a diflucan. So I started to suspect, is this yeast?
Mm,
And I really think it was because during that time period, I did get thrush and, like esophageal thrush twice.
hmm.
So, it's just a lot of symptoms. And as you know from my video, it's sometimes it's hard to even remember all of them. Um, but yeah, I
So,
did 2 different periods of where the functional medicine doctor had given me um, diflucan for 2 months at a time, 2 different times. And I would start to think, oh, it's gone away, but no, it hadn't gone away. It was just lying in wait.
yeah. So did you ever have like an upper endoscopy to check and see, your esophagus and if there's
So
candida in
I
your esophagus?
did not for that reason. I was having really bad GERD,
Mm,
and my GERD goes along with it too. Like when I
mm.
can tell whenever I'm like kind of yeast heavy,
Yeah,
everything I'll eat, well, not everything, but a lot of things, especially any tomato or anything like that, things that would normally cause a little bit of GERD. I mean, they'll just cause instant GERD. It just about comes back up as soon as it goes down. It's really strange. Um, and a lot of this is me putting pieces together. So I can't say 100% for sure that that's what caused that, but it all goes together. And what I've gathered is that it's all due to inflammation, um, and also to candida. So,
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like when you think about thrush, my mind instantly goes to somebody who's immunocompromised.
and I am. I didn't tell you that part.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's rewind a little
So
bit.
this was an
So,
early sign of something that
oh
was going
yeah.
on.
So
Yeah.
from the time I was 19, I started developing candida, several times a year. And then it proceeded to like almost monthly.
Mm.
But okay, so about 7 years ago, I got pneumonia 3 different times
Oh, wow.
over a 4 year period. And I'd never had pneumonia before in my life. And I'm like, that's weird. You don't just go around getting pneumonia, like that's very strange. I thought I need to get this checked out. Well, my doctors, they were just like, oh, huh, you had pneumonia. Oh, you had pneumonia again. Oh, I had pneumonia again.
Mm.
It wasn't like it doesn't spark anything for them like in my mind it should. I
Right.
guess they just seen people with pneumonia all the time. So, but that was weird for me. I was
Yeah.
pretty much healthy my entire life. And so I basically demanded for her to send me to the immunologist. And after I went to the immunologist, they drew, I mean, every lab known to man on me. And they found that I have 3 different components of my immune system that are not quite what they should be. One is IgM.
Okay.
Um, so I have low IgM. It's like right around 20. I have low IgG subclass 1. I mean, this stuff is like so out there.
Yeah.
And
But they're
then the
different
other,
immunoglobulins, part of your immune
well,
system.
and that makes sense to us. Like as nurses, we hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
But this other one, I had never even heard of, and that was let's see here, low mannose binding lectin. So I have a mannose binding lectin deficiency. And when
Okay.
I got my 23andMe data and I plugged it into Genetic Genie, which will give you a lot of things, like a lot of different markers that 23andMe doesn't do. It was right there in black and white on that report.
Really?
Mannose binding lectin deficiency. Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
what is going on? This is so wild. I've never even heard of this. And
So
and
so it's
and here I
obviously
have it.
genetic.
I guess so. I mean, I'd never heard of it. So it was, I don't
I've
know.
never heard of that either before. Oh my gosh.
Just Googled and figured it out. And then when I went back to my immunologist, I told him, about all of this. And he's like, well, bring in your report and let me see, And I said, okay. I mean, he acted like he just about half didn't believe me. And, he, I don't know, he was just very, like, just flippant about it, just kind of like, And I told him, I said, I have low IgM. I've had low IgM on 3 different blood tests. So it's not a fluke,
Right.
And I don't know. It's like, I guess part of it's because where I go, it's a level 1 trauma center
Right.
and it's a teaching hospital. So if it's not the worst of the worst of the worst,
Right.
they're not impressed by it.
Right. They're like, we've got to take care of people with a lot worse issues than you. So
Yeah, they're just
we
kind of
feel
like, okay, you're putting together a cute little puzzle here, lady, But
yeah.
so
So they didn't offer you, I mean, did they offer you at least some education
no,
about it?
but you know what they offered me? They offered me a pneumonia shot.
Oh,
So I took
okay.
it. I
Okay.
was like, okay. I think it was 2 shots actually, but yeah, it was pretty much a waste of my time,
Yeah. Wow.
not anything um that I, for the amount of money that I had to pay because I have an HSA. So I pretty much have to pay the insurance rate for whatever medical care I get, which actually it ends up being cheaper. I'm not trying to say that
Right.
that's like so bad because I chose it. But it does leave me paying for all these unnecessary tests that they do. And then they're still just like, oh, and they sent me to a rheumatologist after that. And, they didn't help me either. Basically, I have
So I'm
all
assuming
these.
they ran their standard tests to check for autoimmune disease.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have autoimmune symptoms, but you don't test positive for autoimmune disease, like they just kind of say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Move on.
I guess when you start testing positive, we'll diagnose you with something. I don't know
Right.
I don't know what they're thinking. I'm just done with all of them, honestly. I'm not, I mean, my only help for any of my symptoms, and it's pretty much fixed. I don't want to say all my symptoms, but pretty much most of it has been my way of eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I started that back in 2017.
Okay.
Well, it was I think it was actually New Year's Eve of 2017. And I had seen a video of myself and I did it for like, I didn't recognize myself. I was like, oh my gosh, I did it for weight loss.
Okay.
But it fixed so much more than that.
Let me show. I know you just put a thing on your website or your YouTube channel. Let me go over here and go here. And okay, so here's your channel. And so you just recently posted this. So
Yeah.
this 2017 Standard American Diet. Look at you now. Woohoo, lady.
Well, that was my Christmas party. So I
You are
was
all
like,
dolled up.
I was
But
feeling myself.
but it's still like you don't look like the same person.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, literally you don't look like the same person.
I
So
don't feel
you
like
get
the same person. And look at that swelling. Like, look at that facial swelling.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
just wild.
Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah, so definitely check out Kim's YouTube channel. So I know that when I listened to that one video of you, you had like a myriad of symptoms. So obviously between at some point you started developing other weird symptoms. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the video that she's talking about, if you want to watch it on my channel, it's let's see here, what is it? What's it called?
You want me to scroll through?
Yeah, scroll through socket because I called it like I think it was like 180 days or 100 and something days on the car. Oh,
How far?
170 days. There it was. Scroll back. right there in the middle
Yeah, this one right
with the
here.
spider. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That
it was
was
170 days carnivore. And I
crazy.
basically went over every symptom I could think of. And I still thought of more after that, by the way. So that was crazy. And the biggest one is that I left out of that video is the bladder irritation. If I eat carbs to this day, even sometimes vegetables, I get the worst bladder irritation, and I'll go to bed, like I'll go to the bathroom, then I'll brush my teeth, then I'll go to the bathroom again, and I'll go get in the bed, and then I'll, hang out for a while, look at my phone, and I'm like, oh, I better go to the bathroom again, and I'll get up again, and it was just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
anyway, so your
Lindy.
question was, hey guys,
Yeah,
hey
Lindy's
Nicole.
here. Nicole's here. Awesome. So yeah, so I know I don't expect you to rattle off all of them, but
Oh
I
no,
want you
I
to at
probably
least
couldn't even remember all of it.
right. And the same thing with me. Like I do these videos where I start talking about all these symptoms, and then after I publish it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to.
Yeah.
For some reason, I always forget all my cardiac symptoms, like my heart palpitations,
Oh yeah, I probably left that out too. I
tachycardia,
used
and
to
I'm
have
like,
heart
how can I forget
palpitations.
cardiac? Like I was a cardiac nurse.
Me too, me too. Um,
So yeah, I try to go like head to toe, like when you do an assessment of your patients,
so
and I forget.
this is where I should start. And that is that the reason why I went carnivore, I had been keto on and off for years since 2017, and that's always the thing that worked for me. However, I was never as serious about it as I am about carnivore slash, well, let's just call it the proper human diet, because I do carnivore to keto range, mostly carnivore or ketovore. And actually, why should I even have to label it? It's just proper human diet. Okay. Um, but since I've been doing it this time for like the last 8 months, I started doing it because I heard that there was a lady that cured her candida, her chronic candida, by doing the carnivore diet. So I was like, okay, that's really weird. Who could eat just meat? That's not healthy, of
Right.
course. And I thought people are crazy until I heard Dr. Barry talking about it. And then I'm like, I trust Dr. Barry. Maybe I'll try it. But I still I wasn't, really into it at all. Like I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to see if that lady was onto something and that it
Right.
would cure my chronic candida. So I did it, and I did it for 3 months. And then at that 3 month mark, I was like, well, I feel wonderful. I'm not stopping now. I mean, and at that point, it had not completely cured my chronic candida. It was probably 6 months in. And the reason why was because I was so stubborn that I would not let go of dairy. Just like my Crystal
Wow.
Light, I would not let go of it. And I was just like, nope, I'm fine with dairy. Even my 23andMe report says I'm fine with dairy. It says I have that gene that allows you to like it's a lactase persistence gene or something like
Yeah,
that.
so you
So
can
I was,
digest
oh,
the
honey, I was proud of that. I was
lactose.
like, I can eat dairy. I don't know about y'all, but I'm eating dairy. And yeah, no, there's other things in dairy, folks, that you probably can't eat it. It's um, I think it's the casein that I am
Mm,
reacting to. I've had so much testing done. One of my reports said that. So that's what we're
okay,
going
so
with.
you have
But
a sensitivity to the case.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. And I mean,
Interesting.
I don't know if I believe it or not, but I do know that when I eliminated that dairy once and for all, it took probably a couple weeks to a month, and my chronic candida was gone.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm talking 30 years. Well, 30
Wow.
plus years. No, 30 years, 30 years.
Wow.
29 years, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like, so how did you feel at that point when you finally found the solution?
I mean, like, I, awesome. I mean, I didn't want to let that stuff go. I've been a food addict for my whole life, you know. I've always wanted like the best possible tasting food that I could have. And I was always thinking about food. I loved dairy, I loved ice cream, I loved all that stuff. But
Yeah.
man, had I known that that's all it took, I would have done it 30 years ago for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, we all kind of get to it at our own pace.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And I'm stubborn. I mean, I'm a brat. I'm a self-acknowledged brat that just let go of Crystal Light after 8 months of carnivore.
yeah, wow. Okay, so let's talk about some of these other crazy symptoms you were having.
Oh Lord. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Girl, you put me on the spot. I can't
But
remember. I'm
isn't it
like,
amazing how when you feel better,
yeah, I mean, it's
you start
crazy.
to
That's why I'm
forget?
glad I have these videos because
Yeah.
I'm like, what symptoms? Joint pain, horrible joint pain. I would lay in bed at night and just laying on my side, my hips would feel like an old woman, you know.
Mhm.
And I thought that was just where I was at in life. I thought that's the way you were supposed to feel when you were in your 30s and 40s, you know. Um, gosh, the chronic coughing was the worst, absolute worst. I would start coughing so bad that I would go throw up, you know, at work.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just like a tickle, like you just felt so
Right.
dry back there, dry mouth, dry eyes. And I didn't realize those had gotten better until just recently. You know, I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. I haven't been reaching for those little lozenges as much as I had before. Um, those lozenges that are 2 grams of carbs a piece,
Which you just recently figured
which I
out.
literally just found yesterday because I
And
didn't even, you know, you don't want to admit this to yourself. You don't, I'm the queen of denial, I guess. I don't know.
and they have xylitol
Yeah. And so
in
the
them.
xylitol actually, that's the active ingredient. That's what helps your, you know, your mouth not be, helps your mouth be, you know, not so dry.
Right.
That's what helps. But I just I took them way past the point that I needed them, you know?
So I know you've mentioned, it sounds like you do have some kind of addictive tendencies towards sweets. You feel like you feel like you continuing
Yeah.
with those lozenges had something to do with just wanting to
Mhm.
satisfy that taste?
Yes,
No.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I just need that little security blanket, that the crystal light. And I always carry this cup or one just like it. I have like 50 of them.
Right,
I quit drinking Starbucks, but I didn't quit with their cups, you
right.
know.
And of course, it's
And I
like,
will
I'm getting
carry it everywhere.
hydrated, right? It's like,
Oh yeah, and you know, it's like, oh, I have an excuse. I'm just gonna drink this all the time. But I was probably drinking 10 of those a day, you know, Crystal Light. You know, I'm not exaggerating.
really?
It's literally like a pacifier, you know. I used to be a smoker and then I was an eater.
So you
And
needed
now I'm a
something.
Starbucks cup drinker.
Yeah, yeah, wow.
It's been hard. I mean, you know, it sounds silly. It feels silly to say, you know, it's just a drink, but
Well, I mean, I think that so many people can relate though, because, coming to this way of eating, we all kind of have, I mean, there's a reason why our health was the way it was, right?
yeah.
You know, and it's not
Yeah.
because we ate a beautiful diet.
No.
Food addiction is a real thing. And whether
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I get the whole sweet thing. And I was telling Kim when we were kind of backstage, getting ready to come on here, how I was really helped by drinking San Pellegrino when I was starting the carnivore diet because I had that same sugar addiction and it tasted sweet to me, even though there's no
Mhm.
sweetener in it.
It's
And
wild what tastes sweet now, you know?
yeah, and I don't know if
Like
anybody
stuff
else
that
has
you
had that
never.
experience with the San Pellegrino, but it's just, yeah, so I don't know if that will help, but I know that once you get over the hump of getting past that, the sweet cravings will go away.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
all of that artificial sweetener couldn't have been good for me. I was having like so many different kinds of artificial sweetener. I was doing the
Right.
stevia in my coffee, and then I had, if I would have tea, I would have the aspartame, and then I would have what's the yellow one?
Splenda.
Splenda. And then that was my favorite one. I would have
Yeah.
Splenda in, in my coffee sometimes too, because I really don't like stevia that much, but I
It
would
has that
make myself do the
aftertaste.
stevia.
It
Yeah.
has that aftertaste. But I mean, I remember when Splenda first came out, like it was really advertised
Oh yeah. It was pushed
and
heavily.
it was
And then it would say,
really
it
heavy.
tastes like sugar because it's made from sugar. We should have known. Duh,
No
they
kidding.
just
Like
told us it was made from sugar.
we went in and we tweaked something in that molecule, so now it's all healthy for you, right? I remember that and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Um, I
But
do too. And everybody had the big bags of it and they were baking with it. And yeah,
yes,
it was
yes.
like
Well, and so then, of course, for
ridiculous.
those of you who follow our book club, and I know
Mhm.
Carrie's on here, what we learned about those sweeteners from our obesity code is the effect that they have on insulin,
Oh yeah.
which, yeah. So was it the Splenda that he said spikes your insulin more than glucose?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
too.
no, no. I thought it was I was thinking it was the stevia because I
Carrie, help us
remember
out
being
here.
shocked. There was something about the stevia that I
Yeah,
was
it might
like,
have. There
what?
was something about the stevia too. Yeah, but
Oh
you
God.
know, well, the thing is that they we talk about the glycemic index and how like we're looking at it from a glucose perspective, right? That
Yeah.
well, you can have all these and they're not going to spike your blood glucose, but yet they will spike your insulin. So it's definitely, and I know he
It's
mentioned that
confusing, honestly.
yeah, and it can stall your weight loss. It can help, keep you from it kind of gets you to into a stall.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely what I've been in. And I think in my video, my recent video, I said like, "Oh, I've been stalled for a couple of months." Yeah, that's a lie.
That's a lie.
Yeah, it's a
Okay, so
lie.
what's the truth?
The truth is, it's been a long couple of months. Like,
Okay.
I mean, I was using the word couple very loosely. I don't even know what exactly I said in the video, but it was it was a minimization of the truth. We'll say
Okay.
that. I'm talking like probably since July or August.
That's a little more than a couple months.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
it's a lot more actually.
yeah.
And I did gain weight back. Like I
Okay.
gained like well, I can't remember the total that I lost, but it was like around 20 something. And then I gained 9 pounds back.
Okay.
And I'm like, why am I gaining weight? Well, this doesn't make sense. It's just, you know, and then I thought, well, maybe I just need more carbs.
Oh, okay.
And
So
so
did
and
you
so this
then
whole time
add
I would be
carbs?
like talking to Nicole on the phone, like rationalizing all this stuff. And then like one week she'd talk to me and I'd be like, oh, I just need more carbs. And then I'd be like, no, I think I'm just eating too much. Well, maybe I'm not eating enough. I'm drinking Crystal Light the whole time.
Now, did you tell Nicole that you were drinking Crystal Light the whole time?
I mean, I think she saw me like empty some packets into my cup, but like I didn't say, "Hey, I'm also drinking Crystal Light."
So I'm sure Nicole
Mm.
knows that when your clients don't fully disclose
Yeah,
everything,
I
it's
wasn't her
really hard
client
to
though.
help
I was
them.
just her friend. she had no responsibility for me.
No, okay. So
Um,
you feel like you're maybe kind of ready to start being honest with yourself about
I
these
think
things?
I'm ready to start being a big girl and And just being honest with myself, just
Yeah,
exactly like you said. It's because when you're addicted to things, you don't want to be honest about it.
so true.
You don't want to yes, I'm talking about the Nicole in the chat.
Yep. That
um
Nicole. Yes.
but yeah, like when you're an addict, you're not gonna an addict doesn't tell you,
Right.
oh hey, I'm addicted to this. Like,
Right.
it's you keep that stuff pretty hidden because you're embarrassed of it,
Oh yeah,
that's
exactly. And and I mean it's easy for us to feel shame, but I mean I know that once you start to be honest, I sorry, I just bumped my mic. Once you start to be honest and the people that really care about you aren't going to make you feel shame,
yeah.
you
I
know.
just I always feel like shame myself, I always feel like I hold myself to a way higher standard than I do other people. Like if my friend tells me something, I have empathy for them.
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, listen, you learned and now you can start from here." With myself, I'm just like, "You're the stupidest idiot that
Right.
ever that
Right.
ever lived."
Well, and they do say that nurses are the worst patients.
Mhm.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can totally relate to that because for the longest time I was exactly the same. Like I could give great advice to other people
Yeah.
and I can be very compassionate, but yeah, it's easy to beat yourself up. And
It sure is.
yeah, so interesting. So now, okay, so you're kind of at this point now where you're still evaluating your diet. And
Right, you mean right now?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
obviously you had some things that you were hanging on to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So you feel like you're ready to give up the crystal light. And so
Yeah,
have you now
I'm done
officially
with it.
you're done with the crystal
But
light?
see, that is one thing about me. That's one good characteristic that I have is that I am somebody who, when I'm done with something, I'm done with it. Like I can just like I put down cigarettes and just like that's it. I'm done.
Oh wow, good for you.
I'm very hard headed, so it works for me and against me. So I'm
Right.
done with the
So
crystal light.
once you decide to do it, you're gonna stubbornly adhere to that
Yes.
decision.
Yes.
That's
I'll
good.
go down. I will go down with this ship. I'll be playing music while the Titanic sinks.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Nicole says you have many good characteristics, bestie.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you do. So, so has having a YouTube channel, do you feel kind of helped you along with this journey that you're on?
Yeah, I do. I think it's helped me a lot. Not only like with just staying the course and reminding me of why I'm doing this and being able to like watch myself again and oh, that's how I felt. I didn't remember I felt that way.
Mm, mhm.
But also meeting people and meeting like-minded people and hearing from them, and then sometimes that part's overwhelming because you hear all of this stuff and you're trying to work all this stuff that other people are doing into your routine and it's too much.
Bless you.
I have a weird sneeze.
That's a cute
But
sneeze.
so there was a time when I was just like, I've got to stop watching everybody else. I can't do this. I need to focus on me and what's working for me you know and what's not working. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking recently about histamine.
yeah.
And have you looked into a little bit how much the histamine is possibly a contributor to some of the things you're dealing with? I know you posted a video just recently about your hands turning red.
Yeah, I
You
think that's
know,
a histamine thing too, don't
I
you?
watched that video and I was thinking, well, fermented foods are high in histamine, and you had
Uh-huh.
sauerkraut,
Yeah.
and so I'm wondering.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only symptom from the sauerkraut.
Okay,
From
so
the
now
sauerkraut indiscretion.
sauerkraut is off the table now.
I
which
love
is
sauerkraut so much. It's so good.
well, a lot of
But I
people
can't
who
stop with it.
oh,
Like
yeah, a lot
it
of
is
people
so
eat it that are
good. I just
carnivores.
eating it.
Oh, yeah, so you tend to eat a lot of it, huh? So,
And
yeah, well,
then
I know a lot of
it says,
carnivores do
okay,
eat
nope.
it. It's fermented foods for a lot of people are, good for their gut. It helps with the gut microbiome.
Yeah, I think maybe I would need to go slower. Like not a whole bowl of sauerkraut the first
Yeah.
time that you eat it in 8 months. So
Right,
yeah.
right.
But my hands turning red like that, it's just wild. It's like and my nose turns red too. So my
Okay.
hands will turn red and I mean like bright red and mainly my palms, but the back's a little bit too and my nose will turn red. And I started pointing it out to people at work. I'm like, look at my nose, look at my hands. They would be like cut off here red
Right. I mean, you s
and
I
almost
saw the
purple,
picture and they're bright red.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And I
have
watched
you
your video, by the way.
oh, my
I
histamine
watched it
video?
last night. Yeah. Yeah. That was very informative.
Thank
So,
yeah, I'm glad. I learned a lot from doing it, but then it's amazing how I forget, you know, like it's good like to go back and watch your own stuff, right?
yeah.
Because I'll forget like just you made a comment to me on my, about maybe you shouldn't eat sardines because and I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. And I've noticed that I've been getting a few headaches. Excuse me. I've been getting a few headaches here and there, and I think it might be the sardines.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and I
Well,
really hate that.
and I mean, I know in my video I go over a lot of like all the different symptoms that you can have, and they are vast. And
Mhm.
so I thought that seeing that visual was really helpful for me to remind me to like, it's not just one type of symptom that you have if you have a histamine response, and not everybody has the exact same symptoms, but to know what they could be and make that connection, I think is helpful that, okay, maybe this headache is because of something I ate. So we have a comment here from Julia. I wonder about that gut microbiome. Do fermented foods help with the digestion of plants? Perhaps they aren't so beneficial for the digestion of meat. Nicole may have some input on that.
I know they will help repopulate your gut with beneficial bacteria, um, and, whatever bacteria your gut has, it's usually centers around what type of food you eat on a regular basis.
Right, right.
So, people who eat meat all the time, they can have a perfectly healthy microbiome, but if they're not eating plants on a regular basis, they might not have as many of that type of that's what I've gotten from just studying.
Yeah, and I know that when it comes to gut microbiome, I haven't been able to find anything that talks about what is a healthy gut microbiome for someone who only eats meat. Um, I've read that the gut microbiome can turn over and adapt like really quickly to
Yeah.
changes in your diet. So I don't know, I mean, fermented foods, if do we need them? That's a good question.
Yeah.
If you're sticking to a carnivore diet, do we need the fermented foods or not? I don't know. We have some more comments on here. So Paula said your headaches may have been from the crystal light, or possibly had you started to wean off of the
So
crystal light at that point?
no, I hadn't had headaches in months, and then just recently I've had a few. So I don't think it's related to the crystal light, but
Yeah.
I do think that the sweetener is not good for my gut.
Yeah, and I've read that too, that the sweeteners are not good for the substitutes are not good for your gut. It can mess up your gut microbiome. So Nicole says it's thought to help with gut diversity, but the gut is able to change with diet. You don't need fiber for a healthy gut, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so if we don't need fiber for a healthy gut, then, maybe we don't need the fermented foods And, you know, so it's something that it's one of those areas where I mean, good luck finding anybody who's going to do a study on this, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, who's going to make money off of learning that we don't need certain things in our diet? They're not going to. Okay, so impairing carbs with fat will activate the Randall cycle, which I don't know what that is. Nicole's
Um,
going to be coming on next week, so maybe we're going to get an explanation for this.
isn't that
So,
the cancer? Hmm. Tell us real quick, Nicole.
yes, educate us. What is the Randall cycle? So you shouldn't pair carbs with fats. So interesting. Okay, and Jay said, when I first went carnivore, I thought I would continue drinking sauerkraut juice for my gut, but I never did, and my gut is better than ever. Interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, after I went carnivore, after probably, I mean, not even a month, maybe 2 weeks, I made videos all along and I was just like, I'm shocked by this stuff. Um, I didn't have another stomach ache unless I reintroduced something.
Right.
My stomach would never hurt. You know how a lot of times when you eat vegetables, you'll feel bloated, you'll feel your
Yes.
intestines just like, doing their thing. I never feel that. I don't feel anything. My belly never hurts.
Isn't that
It's
amazing?
yeah, it's
Just the battle
wild.
for energy, competition between glucose and fatty acids for their oxidation. Okay, interesting. So pairing carbs with fat will activate the Randall cycle. So it'll activate this competition to to oxidize the glucose versus the fatty acids. Interesting. Well, I had a gut test and I shared the results on a video, but my naturopathic doctor ordered this gut test and it was pretty comprehensive. And I had all of these values that were considered normal, like where these different gut bacteria should be,
Mhm.
that were really off. And I had been about 3 months into the carnivore diet at this time. And like one of the things that was, so some of them were considered immune system um, bacteria that's supposed to help your immune system
Mhm.
and were supposed to help with inflammation. And I remember asking my naturopathic doctor, well, maybe they're really low because I don't need them. Because,
That's
maybe,
cool. That's an idea. I
yeah. And he
mean,
said, that actually is a thought because,
yeah.
maybe these are considered normal because they're based on people who are on the standard American diet and all the fiber and the vegetables, everything inflame your gut. And so
It's like the
therefore,
vitamin C thing, with if you're
right.
eating sugar, you need more vitamin C because like sugar I think competes with or let's see here.
Well,
Anyway, it makes it where you need more.
yeah, isn't it when you eat more carbs, then you need more vitamin C? And
Yeah.
lower carb, you don't need as much vitamin
It
C. And
was like
again,
sugar, I think sugar competes with like it counteracts it or something. I don't know
this
exactly.
is another Nicole thing. Now you are working on some nutrition education. Is that correct?
So I'm doing the Primal Health Coach program
Okay.
and I'm slowly doing it.
Okay. Now this is an online program.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's the one that like Nisha and Dr. Barry. Nisha did it.
Okay.
Dr. Barry recommends it to all of his, people, all of his PhD mentors. And I just wanted to know, I just want all the information, like I want to be able to help myself completely and maybe eventually
Right.
help somebody else, who knows, but
Right.
um, I was paying each month hundreds of dollars for medications. And at one point, I mean, I was even taking Adderall and going to see this psychiatrist or psychologist every 3 months so that I could get my Adderall. And I absolutely hated how it made me feel. and, taking all these other medications, and so I was spending hundreds of dollars a month on this stuff. So, my thought is now I can spend hundreds of dollars a month towards, getting the education that I need,
Right.
and making myself healthier, and, just actually, you know, helping myself.
So this I'm actually not familiar with this program. Is it just a standard nutrition program, or is it
No, it's
for low carb?
it's like paleo, like paleo, keto, I'm sure carnivore, like that type of diet. I mean, we haven't gotten into that part yet. I'm just at the beginning, but
Right.
um,
So it's not
but
going to
yeah,
be
those are the types of diets that they
it's not
support.
sponsored by vegetarians
No,
like most
no,
of
I
these
think I
programs.
think he even like supports. Oh, what is that? What's that one diet that everybody? Oh, them like the Mediterranean. I don't know,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'll have to look into it. It's yeah, like I said, I'm on like chapter 2, so I'm
Yes.
taking
Okay.
my time.
So comment here from Mama Cracker. I think of the physical properties. You put carbs in, they soak up the digestive fluids and leave nothing for the fats. Like for dogs, you don't mix kibble with real meat. So kind of like they're competing.
I don't know.
So yeah, well, hopefully as you continue on this program,
Yeah,
you'll be
I'm
able
sure I'll
to
learn a
know
lot
the
about.
answers to those. So how do you have time now? One thing you didn't mention is that you've got a big family.
Yeah, I have 4. I have 4 boys and a husband, um and 3 dogs and 2 cats and 2 lizards.
Lizards.
Yeah.
Oh my
We did have
goodness.
4 lizards, but we're down to 2 lizards.
Oh my good. Well, I guess if you have 4 boys, it's not surprising that reptiles are
Yeah.
part of the pets.
Yeah, now we just have little geckos. We used to have, bearded dragons, so
Oh,
those were
wow.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you're a busy mom.
Yeah, and I work
How
full
is
time.
does your so where's your family at with regard to the way you eat?
Um, I mean, they're supportive, of it.
Mhm.
They would never tell me not to eat that way, but they're not necessarily going to eat that way either. Well, 3 of my boys are teenagers, but 16 to 21, so
Okay.
they've been eating the way that they've been eating their whole lives, and I can't just come in and say, okay, I'm pulling the rug out and everybody's going to eat,
Yeah. So are
PhD
you
now.
still like cooking, all the vegetables and, potatoes and rice
Yeah,
and
I
all that?
mean, there's a lot of separate eating in this house. There always has been. This one likes this one likes this, and so we just do what we do, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I know when my kids were home and teenagers and everything, they're coming and going all the time. And so
yeah,
my whole thought was, I'm just going to provide the food options and they're going to be available.
yeah. That
And
and see, that's
grab
my
them and heat
oldest
them up when you
son.
want to.
Exactly. And that's what I
Yeah.
do a lot. My kids love they love chicken wings. So I do a lot of chicken wings. I'm
Mhm.
talking like 10 to 20 pounds at a time. Usually about 10 pounds at a time.
Wow.
Yeah, and I make them in the air fryer, so it takes an hour to do it.
Right. You need to
Um,
have a mammoth air fryer, probably.
yeah, I do. I have 2 mammoth air fryers, but I can't use them at the same time because then we'll blow the fuse and have
Yeah,
to
did
go.
that the other day.
But, so I'll make a lot of those. I've always got steaks. They'll come in and say, "Hey, mom, can I have some steak?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so my oldest said he feels better and he's glad that he has more meat around all the time now, since I've started this diet. He's like, "One thing I can say good about the carnivore diet is we've always got, some good meats around now." And it just
Right.
makes him feel better. I think he has a bit of a problem with dairy. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it was causing like some nausea and GERD and stuff.
Mhm.
So we're trying to do a little bit better each day, not making drastic changes for them, but I
Right.
want them to understand basically the eat real food thing is important. And as they go into their life, if they can just take a little bit of what I say and incorporate it, maybe they'll come to the point where they can change their diet more.
Yeah.
It's hard when they're teenagers, though.
Very hard, and especially since their friends and stuff probably eat the normal junk
Oh,
food
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So Nicole
Yeah.
says that your body is always going to prioritize glucose, not prefer, but
Yeah.
prioritize. Yeah. So there is a distinction there.
Yeah.
So
And I think I was just giving it, well, I mean, I don't know how the artificial sweetener turns into glucose, but it makes your sugar higher. And I've read that it's possibly the effect that it has on your gut microbiome that makes your sugar elevated. But I think they're kind of uncertain about
well,
that.
didn't the Dr. Fung say that it had to do with triggering something in the brain that reacted your brain reacted the same as if you were consuming
So
glucose?
maybe as far as the insulin goes,
Well, yeah, as far as the
but like
insulin
I'm
goes.
talking about, it actually increases your blood sugar.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, and I think I figured out why my sugar. So, like for the past few mornings, my sugar's been 119, 115. That's my fasting sugar. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I thought something is wrong. And that's what made me think about the Crystal Light. Well, it may not be just that, though. It may be the dawn effect because 2 hours later, my sugar was 99 today. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm getting ready to get a CGM so that I can actually, look at what really happens throughout the day and the night with my blood sugar.
Yeah, yeah. And you probably don't know what that is, but it's continuous glucose monitor. So
Yeah.
that's what this little patch that you stick on your arm,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And that'll tell you exactly,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
your
I
body's
mean, you eat
responding.
something and you're going to see that number, that how big of a spike within, just a little while.
Yeah. So let's see. I heard that the amount of carbs we consume in a week, our ancestors consumed in 1 year.
I mean,
Nuts.
maybe not us, but like standard American.
Standard American diet, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of nuts are a big part of it. My husband used to eat handfuls and handfuls of nuts in the evening.
Yeah.
That
Mine
was
still does.
Oh yeah, that was his snack. We always had a big, huge container full of mixed nuts, and he was eating those all the time. And then I didn't realize how many oxalates are in almonds. And I remember when I was on the ketogenic diet, I used to make those almond flour based, um,
Hmm.
you know, goodies. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So yeah, almonds. Yeah, we consume a lot of carbs because you're right. I mean, because they used to pretty much hunt and then they would just supplement with some berries and stuff that they found. So Julia says, I just read something about the artificial sweeteners triggering the release of glucose from the pancreas or something. So yeah, I should bring my book. I should have brought my book up
Oh,
here.
so one thing I was reading, so what did I say the sweetener was in Crystal Light? Something Dex,
Oh yeah, is it maltodextrin?
yeah,
Maltodextrin? Yeah.
maltodextrin. So maltodextrin actually, it said it helps replenish the stores of glucagon
Okay, in the liver.
in the liver. Glycogen, is it glycogen? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, your glycogen stores. That's what it is. I knew that
Mhm.
didn't sound right. Um, so yeah, it basically builds that up in your liver. So in other words, I was probably never eating my fat because I was just replenishing those stores.
Right.
And so anytime my blood sugar got low, my liver was like, here, have some of this from the Crystal Light.
Oh, Nicole says
I mean, it's funny, but it's not
glycogen.
funny, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, the thing is that it's like, how is the average individual going to be that educated on these things,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it's hard for me, and I'm a health, professional.
Right, right, the medical field.
Not a doctor, but
But I mean, we don't learn these things in
yeah.
nursing school, and when you're actually nursing, you're
I
dealing with
mean, you
taking
get an
care saving lives.
introduction, like a brief introduction to
Right.
some of it.
Well, and I mean, yeah, when we learn the therapeutic diets for people who are in the hospital, because, we need to know what to feed them when they're
Yeah.
critically ill, and then we are thrown the food guide pyramid, you know,
And
it's
you know
like, "Hey,
what's
by the
baffling?
way, this is where how they're supposed to eat normally."
Yeah. You know what's baffling to me is that they will acknowledge just how important proper nourishment is for a critically ill person. Like it can be life or death. It's that important. But they
Yes.
won't acknowledge how important the right diet is for us.
Right, right.
It, I mean, I never go to the doctor when they say, what are you eating? Oh, you're having GERD. What have you been eating? Like that should be the first question.
Yeah. Now
You
now if you
know?
had talked to the nurse, GI nurse like me, that would have been the first question I asked you, but the
Yeah.
doctor isn't necessarily gonna ask you that. Hopefully, they'll send you home with a list of things to avoid.
And the GI doctor might, to be fair, the GI doctor might ask you that.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
talking about just my regular
Regular.
doctor. She's just going to be like, huh, well, I guess you just got a little GERD.
Yeah, and they're gonna put you on a proton pump inhibitor.
You have a Prilosec deficiency.
Of
That's my
course.
favorite.
Yes,
That's my
that's it.
favorite thing to say.
That's it. And I was talking a little bit today. I did my, weekly weigh-in video, but I was talking about, these diets, like the diet for diabetics, right? That they're given. Like, and I can ask you this because you're another nurse. Have you ever in your nursing career come across somebody who is a diabetic who went on the recommended diet for diabetes and it cured their diet, reversed their diabetes?
Literally never. Like,
No.
they don't even teach you that's possible. Like, as a
Right.
matter of fact, they tell you this is what I remember from nursing school. I remember them saying, some people are able to get their blood sugars back to normal, and then they're considered just in remission, but not cured. It was not like a this is possible kind of thing. It was just like, well, some
Like
people
it's
it's
an
just kind of
anomaly.
just happens, just kind of a fluke. They manage to they eat really good, and they don't define good, of course. They eat really good, and they follow that 88 diet to a T, and then they get their sugars back under control. And then we're still going to put diabetes, because you're never cured from diabetes, so it's still going to be in your history. We're not going to erase that.
Right.
Okay.
Like, so how
But
long?
we're still going to test your sugar 4 times a day, because sorry, you're diabetic. It says right here on the paper.
Yeah, and how long do you have to have a normal A1C before they take type 2 diabetes off of your your list?
I don't even think they would. I think they would call it diet controlled diabetes.
Probably.
That's what they
Yeah.
call it in the history. I've literally never seen somebody where that said, and I've been a nurse for 23 years, literally never seen it where that said, they used to be a diabetic, but they're not diabetic anymore. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
And I've never seen that either. And yeah, no, and I've never heard a patient say that the ADA diet reversed their diabetes ever.
No, that's literally never happened.
Yeah, and in the diabetic patients that I've, interacted with, it doesn't even, it's like that thought doesn't even enter their mind
Yeah.
that,
Even
okay,
even doctors, they act like they don't think it's even a possibility, really.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think that that's why it's really important to talk about these things and to get the word out that people that are going on a carnivore diet or some, a keto diet in cases that you can actually get your hemoglobin A1C down to normal.
Yeah.
outside, down away from that diabetic and even pre-diabetic range. And I mean, I was pre-diabetic when I started. Um, I knew that I was going to end up diabetic if I continued on the path I was on. But yeah, so it's interesting with the healthcare system. And yeah, how is it working? Yeah, I mean, so now you know the right way to eat. How is it working as a
It's hard.
nurse? How do you
Well,
keep your
it's
mouth shut?
okay.
Or do
Well,
you?
I never do. I mean, you think I keep my mouth shut? No. So it helps that I am in a recovery room. So I'm not having to deal with a lot of that stuff. Um, I'm taking care of people after surgery, no matter what people are going to need surgeries. Okay. So that helps. I still have a lot of problems when I'm seeing diabetics getting their legs cut off. It just makes me so incredibly sad because I just think this didn't have to happen,
Right.
I don't talk to them about that. It's I mean, it's so hard. That's the really hard part.
Yeah.
But what good is it going to do for me to say, you know what, you didn't have to lose your legs after their legs are gone? I mean, that would just be cruel. Um, and honestly, to be fair, I don't think everyone is capable of eating the way that we do. I mean, just being completely honest, I don't think everybody would even want to, like, would even
Right.
give it a chance at all. They just think it sounds crazy and they're not going to do it. And some people would just rather go out eating because that's what makes them happy. And
Yeah.
that's that's their right. I mean, that's you know
Exactly. It's
they have the
really,
same internet I have, like they can get on here and look at the same kind of stuff that I've looked at that's made me go towards carnivore.
right.
Um, I don't know. It's a constant struggle. But it is also helped by the fact that I'm the charge nurse 2 out of the 3 days that I work. So I'm mainly managing people, nurses,
Right.
techs, stuff like that. And, managing ORs coming out and assigning them. And it's a super busy, super stressful job. So,
Yeah. And I
I
mean,
enjoy my one day at the bedside.
we know how important fat is for healing. And I think I would kind of struggle a little bit, when so many people are on these low fat diets and dealing with people that are recovering, trying to recover from surgery, and especially in a trauma center, if they've had, really, trauma to the body,
Yeah.
to, knowing that they need the fat, that would definitely be a struggle. I think I know that I used to do a lot of patient education when I was working in the hospital and before I was outpatient, but then I didn't know about the carnivore diet,
Yeah.
you know. And so, you know how you do with, when you discharge patients, right? You print out whatever's relevant to their condition and you send them on their way with it, right? Okay, so Nicole says, I agree with Kim there. My dad is type 2 and he won't eat the way I eat. Most people have disordered eating. Yes, if you want to call it that. He has a food addiction. Most do who eat the standard American diet. Yeah, yeah. And
I mean, they can't even comprehend eating. I couldn't even comprehend it. I feel like I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to diets and health and stuff like that. But before I tried carnivore, I was just like, this is nutty. I mean,
yeah,
it's such a mind shift that
right.
I can't even approach someone and talk to them about this because I'm like, okay, first of all, if I tell them this, I'm going to have to tell them this. Like, there, in order for me to make the base to get to the top of to get to carnivore or ketovore or sometimes even keto, there's
Yeah.
so much information there. Like,
And
you
it
just
really
have to
depends.
take control of it yourself and
Yeah. And I
teach,
know with talking to
learn on
people,
your
you
own.
kind of have to feel people out, right?
Yeah.
And some people
And
are
what
going to be
I'll do
more
is
open
I'll
than
tell
others.
them this is what I do if I think they're open to it at all. Like, I don't care what kind of health problem that they have. If I
Yeah.
think they're open to it at all, then I will, I'll just say, yeah, I eat a carnivore diet. or
Right.
I eat a keto diet. Meat heavy keto is what I
Right.
eat.
A lot of
And then they'll
people heard
say,
of
"Oh, really?
keto.
What, tell me about that." And so then I'll just say, "Hey, have you ever heard of Dr. Ken Berry?" And then they'll put it in their phones and hopefully they
Yeah.
go home and watch it. But I mean,
And that's a good approach because people, the fact that there's so much out there on YouTube. Now Jay said that the doctor told his mom that keto would not help her diabetes.
mm,
Yeah.
that is sad.
Yeah. So, and you're right. People get confused with keto, think it means ketosis, that
They
are,
think it means
diabetic
ketoacidosis.
ketoacidosis versus ketosis.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you don't want ketoacidosis,
No.
you know.
But you're not gonna I think it was Dr. Berry explained one time. He said ketoacidosis would be like 10 plus, probably way more than 10, right?
Right.
Um, if you were to measure your ketones. Um, Ketosis, like you're going to be 5 or below. Like if you're 5, you're in a darn good ketosis, right? Um, and it's just not going to lead to that. That's not
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah. It's definitely different. Susan said, I remember my reaction when I first heard about carnivore. It was a mind bender. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. As you know, I mean, I think most of us are in that situation. So sharing it is, yeah, I think we just kind of need to take it on a case by case basis and see how open the person is. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're right. Some
And
people
I
are
always
never
have to
into it.
say, this is not what I'm telling you right now is because you're asking me what I do. This is not hospital advice. They would not
Correct.
have me tell you this at all. So,
Yeah,
because I have to
exactly.
protect my job. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I support my family.
Yeah.
And,
And
I don't want to
exactly.
get in trouble with them.
And the hospital gives you the resources, the educational resources. Like I said, you go in there and you print out, you just select, like, I want to, this is their condition. So you print
Yeah.
out the education to send them home with, and you're not typing in what it says,
Yeah. And
so
I
that's
don't
what
do a
you,
whole lot of dietary stuff. Very rarely. When I used to do open heart, I was an open heart nurse. We did a lot of dietary teaching with that. But with what I do now, we don't, there's just not a whole lot of diet recommendations. Usually it's
right,
just like go back to your regular diet, regular, just resume a regular diet, whatever
right.
regular is,
Well,
you know.
and I talked a lot about diet as a GI nurse, and but it was usually when people were having flare-ups of their conditions, there would be dietary recommendations to help get their flares settled down, like the old Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. And
Mhm.
um, but once the flare was settled down, it would be just eat whatever you want. And it was always like drop the fiber when they were having a Crohn's or UC flare,
Yeah.
because that's going to inflame things worse. But yet go back to eating the fiber, right?
Yeah.
When once the inflammation's gone, go back to eating the fiber again, and then take these biologic medications,
Oh,
you know, and there you go. So, or take a course of prednisone and get it settled down, and then go back to eating the way you were eating before. But I can't tell you how many patients would ask me, is that really the case? Like, a lot of patients, it didn't resonate in their mind that, there wasn't something that they could do with their diet. So I think people kind of intuitively know, especially with gut issues, that what you
mhm.
eat matters. I just was always kind of astounded that the docs didn't really, in a lot of cases, didn't say that, okay, well, what you eat matters. It's like,
Yeah. And I think a lot of people
oh,
I
wow,
think we
open
just
heart
kind of
mind.
also intuitively know that people are not following those recommendations regardless.
Yeah,
People are just going to do what they're going to do.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So,
Michael.
yeah,
Michael
wow.
had open heart surgery
Are you
28 days
hope
ago.
hope you are recovering well. All right, so let me see here. Some more comments here. So Jay says, unfortunately, when they told people to drop the fiber, what they were recommended was things like toast and jam. Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Oh God,
absolutely. I used to, and
that's so
I
awful.
used to tell people this. I was a GI nurse. I used to tell people stick with the white processed down foods when you're in a flare, and forget the high fiber, the whole grains. Stick with the all the stuff that supposedly you're not supposed to eat. The white bread and the
Mm.
saltine crackers and the white rice and everything. And that's the dietary recommendations we were given. So yeah, low residue diet. That's right. So awesome. Well, listen, I know we've been on this for a while, and I appreciate everybody who's joined in and made all these
Yeah, me too.
fantastic comments. So let's go. I'm going to show them your channel again for those who came in late. Everybody probably knows you, but we got Nurse Kim is her channel, and she's got lots of videos, and you do have some brown butter. I can't do butter, but that looks good. You and your lactose. So are you still going to do brown butter and stuff if you're having casein issues with
I don't.
dairy?
I haven't done those in forever. Like that
Yeah.
was a few months ago, I think.
Yeah.
And I just made them the one time, but I do have a little bit of butter to cook with.
Okay.
I don't sit and eat butter,
Yeah, some people
but
do.
yeah, I mean, I really haven't thought about it that hard, honestly. I just kind of like if something bothers me, and butter just doesn't seem to have bothered
Yeah.
me.
And you can watch
Um,
you can watch your kids play your kids
oh
are
yeah,
musicians.
I've
You
thought
watch your
about
kids.
taking that off, and I'm like,
It's cute
that's part of
though.
Nurse Kim, like my dad was a songwriter, and he was always in bands. He played like every instrument known to man.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and so he actually died of ALS.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we had quite a while of knowing that, he was going to pass. And so when he got to a point where he couldn't play his guitars anymore, and I'm talking about probably 10 plus guitars that he had, he
Wow.
gave us all those. He loaded them up in my van for us, and we brought them home, and he gave us these big stage amps that are like as tall as I
Wow.
am, and just all kinds of equipment, from his band. And my boys, my oldest, he's 21 now. He taught himself how to play guitar at about 10, 11 years old.
Wow.
He was watching videos online and stuff. So finally, when I knew he was serious about it, I gave him lessons. And then that led to my second son, that's now 18. He wanted to take drum lessons. So he started taking them about 5 years ago. And then my 16-year-old son started taking bass lessons around the same time. So now we have like a little band. So we
Got a
do
band.
music lessons, like they each do lessons during the weekend, and they do a group lesson, which is like band practice.
Now,
So my
so
dad would just
is
love
your
it.
youngest taking lessons too?
He's not yet. We're gonna be doing that. He's 10.
Okay.
He started piano like about a year ago, but he just wasn't really into it. So now he's saying he wants to take violin. And then his other brothers are like, dude, that's not gonna work in our band.
You know
They
what? I
play
know
hard
that
rock, like they
they
play metal.
but symphonic metal,
I
they could do
guess, yeah. I
yeah.
guess, hey, I might have to do that.
Have them listen to the symphonic metal because it has orchestration.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
hear the violins and you hear the wind instruments, the trumpets and everything. That's why I really like symphonic metal because
yeah.
I really like classical music.
Well, my oldest loves symphonic metal.
Yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah, I do too.
so Jay's asking where I'm from. I am from Kentucky. I'm actually from Western Kentucky, but now I live in Central Kentucky. I live in Lexington.
Yeah,
Um,
I love your
but yeah,
accent.
I don't have an
You
accent. I
don't.
don't
I
know what you're
know.
talking about.
Everybody I know from the South, like good half of my
Mm.
family is from the South, and they say the same thing. We don't have an accent.
Yes, Paula, violin is also the fiddle, and that's the only reason I'm considering this.
Okay. So so I hear the debate that the violin is different than the fiddle.
I think it's just the way they play it, isn't it?
Is it? I don't
I don't know.
know.
I
I've
mean,
heard
honestly, I have no idea.
I've
I mean, I'm pretty
literally
sure it's the
heard
same
people
instrument.
argue about this, and
Huh.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'll have to Google that.
My dad's cousin, now he's quite elderly now, but was a very famous uh violin player. I think he called it the fiddle, but he was really famous. I mean,
Oh.
he toured and he played with Elvis, and I mean,
Hmm.
he was really well known in his day. So that's pretty cool. I wouldn't be able to ask him.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think there's any
so
difference in the actual
there's no
instrument.
difference in the
I think it's
instrument.
just like the way they play it, because when you're playing the fiddle, you like, you know, like Cotton Eye Joe type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. There's, like I said, I've heard this debate. Like some people will get pretty animated debating the violin versus the fiddle. I'm like, I don't know.
I
So, awesome. Good. So you got yourself a
have
little
no
band.
idea.
So
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's like I never really did that myself. It kind of skipped a generation with me. Like I played
yeah,
the flute and the bassoon, but that was in high school. Um, but I'm just so into music. Like I'm
right.
somebody who has always got a song in my head. I write songs in my sleep. you
Wow.
know, I I don't do anything with them, but
Well,
I
maybe you
don't
can
know.
write songs for your sons. You
Maybe.
got to
I
get,
usually just write a chorus and then I'll wake up and it actually started happening after my dad passed away. So it
oh,
sounds
wow.
crazy, I know, but I
No,
keep thinking, Dad, like I'm tired. I don't want to write this stuff down right now, okay? Just leave me alone.
maybe it's therapeutic for you though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Heidi's from Becoming says same instrument, different style.
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. Well, my dad was a musician as well. He played electric guitar, but it was not like your son's. It was old
Yeah.
school, Chet Atkins,
Oh yeah.
that sort of thing.
That was what my dad played. He played the bass, but he could also play the electric and the acoustic and all that. But he was in a Southern rock country band. So
Nice. Nice.
it
Awesome.
was fun.
Well, thank you, Kim. I'm so
Well,
glad you
thank
took some
you.
time out of your evening. I know you're 3 hours ahead of me. I'm on the West Coast
Oh
in
yeah. I
Washington.
always forget
You're
about
in,
that.
yep, it's only like quarter to 7 here.
Oh
So,
yeah, it's quarter till 10.
yeah. So, anyways, I really appreciate coming on. I know we're in the book club together, but I never had a
Yeah.
chance to actually, one on one have a talk
I
with
know, I
you.
know. Thanks for having me. And I really would like to have you on my channel too.
I'd
I
be
haven't
happy
done any
to.
interviews in forever, but it would be really fun.
I kind of don't necessarily consider them so much interviews as much as just chatting.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's like you just kind of get to know a person and, have a conversation
Mhm.
and have a lot of online friends join in.
Yeah, and I like to hear a little bit about people's life, like
Yeah,
we all have a diet in common. Like
right.
that's really not a lot to have in common, but when you find out like that Carrie likes, metal and then you're like, "Oh, my sons play metal." And then you're like, "Oh, I'm into metal." And who would have ever
I
thought,
know our whole book club likes metal.
we should get somebody, maybe hire somebody on Fiverr or something to do, or maybe one of my sons to do like a little metal like introduction thing, like music at the beginning of our book club.
Yeah, well, there's some independent artists that will let you use their videos and not have any copyright infringement.
I mean, my son writes his own
There you
symphonic metal he
go.
and plays it, so
That's awesome.
I could probably get him to let me borrow a piece or two.
Yeah, you got these talented boys. That's awesome. So, yeah, it's true. We all have probably way more in common than we realize,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
besides just the way we eat. So awesome.
exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you guys, everybody,
All
for
right,
joining in and taking time out of your evening to spend the time with us. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the
and
evening.
come to my channel and subscribe.
Yes, come and subscribe to her channel. You know where it is now. We showed it to you, and show her some love. All
Thanks,
righty. Good night,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.